Hello YouTube, what is going on? This is Epic Big Bird and I'm back with some more Rome 2 Total War Online commentary action to do for you all today. This is a 1v1 battle, the third of Romanorum, Imperator Romanorum and myself going at it again for the third time. We decided we would do a third match in our series right now. I have fielded Pontus today in this 1v1 battle, and Imperator has fielded a Roman army, and he has modified his build slightly since the last time we've seen it. It looks like he's brought with him 2 Vigiles, Gladiator Spearmen, 4 Auxiliary Syrian Archers, 4 Auxiliary Cavalry and his General, along with 7 Legionary Cohort. I today, as Pontus, have fielded 6 Noble Blood Cav, 4 Mercenary Syrian Horse Archers, 4 Bronze Shield Pikemen, 3 Pontic Peltists, and 2 Pontic Swordsmen holding the flanks. And now, right off the bat, we can see that I have a clear infantry edge. I'm going to start trying to harass my opponent, and just prod at his army and see if I can create any gaps for my cavalry to strike at his archers, or if I can possibly isolate some of his cavalry. So there you can see me skirmishing forward with my cavalry, trying to get in range of his auxiliary cav. And basically the very first half of this game, I'm actually going to go into tactical view right now. You can see how I basically just kite around my opponent looking for openings, seeing how Imperator is going to react to my cavalry. And you can see here we are managing to pull some of his archers out, but he's going to be quick to get them back into the protection of his behind his Vigiles. Now the hot patch has just come out, so in the current state of the game, we no longer can charge. The pull through method is no longer a very effective tool. I didn't try it in this battle. It's something I would like to try out against these weaker spearmen, but I have seen videos of cavalry getting absolutely shredded trying to punch through spear walls. So these Vigiles are kind of threatening to me. Honestly, what I probably should have done was I could have punched through these gladiator spearmen, but the only problem was his auxiliary Syrian archers could have easily just retreated behind his line, and then his infantry could have stepped forward. So what I'm really trying to do is isolate his cavalry first. I don't want my opponent to be able to have a cavalry edge. But my opponent's being very vigilant in preventing a cavalry engagement. He is not going to try and risk his cav at this stage of the battle. And he can see that my cav is mounting on his flank, so he's going to go ahead and march up the hill and try and force my men back. You can see the my infantry corps advancing. He's going to go ahead and right here is where I'm talking about, push my men off the hill. And I'm going to retreat back and seek flat ground for an engagement over here. I'm going to go into fast forward at this point. We're going to do a little bit of maneuvering. And you can see here Rome kind of coming up on this ridge, seeking a defensive position against my cavalry. In my opinion, not necessarily a necessary tactic. With his heavy Syrian archers, what I probably would have done was pushed my infantry into range of my own skirmishers, who are unable to fire back at such a long range, these Pontic Peltists. These are pretty expensive units, and they'd be ripe targets for these archers. Granted, I brought the Pontic Peltists because of their higher shield value and armor. They would be more resilient to missile fire, but his auxiliary Syrians, being an elite missile unit, would definitely bring down the Pontic Peltists in an extended prolonged melee, or engagement, excuse me. And there we go. What's up, Imperator? Doing a video with us right now. But anyways, so here we go. We are getting back into the main engagement, so I'm going to go ahead and press play in a little bit. I'm going to let us advance a little bit further forward. But you can see Imperator is doing a good job of keeping his cavalry in reserve, using them defensively. He knows that my noble bloods are more than a match, so he's hesitant to engage in an unsupported fight. Which is smart. Playing defensively with these auxiliary cav is definitely the right decision at this point. He's doing a good job of preventing my cav from gaining favorable grounds. And here I'm wasting ammo on his gladiator spearmen. I try to ride away from his archers. For the most part we get away, but we lose a couple horses there. Maybe one or two. So again, I'm still just prodding. I'm trying to pull away and isolate his cavalry. And I know that with Bronze Shield Pikemen, his legionary cohorts are going to be able to decide when the infantry engagement happens. So with that in mind, I need to be ready to halt his advance when it happens. And the best way that I'm going to be able to do that is, like I said, if I am able to remove his mobility first. So taking out his cavalry would be awesome. So you can see he's starting to come forward. I'm going to send forward my skirmishers. I'm going to try and get them firing into his legionary cohorts as soon as possible. It's where they're going to be most effective at this stage of the battle. I don't really need them to take down cavalry, and using them on his archers would just be a waste. Here you can see, let's watch these volleys coming in on my peltists. My peltists raising their shields and slowly marching forward. You can see this unit starting to take casualties now as their shield values get diminished. And then here you can see his cav splitting off. So what I'm doing to try and screen against this is I'm bringing forward my Pontic swords, pulling back my skirmishers. I'm trying to screen with my pikemen, hopefully get an easy countercharge on these cav against pikes. But you can see he's not having that. Now I'm going to be a little bit more careful because you can see I did let my peltists get a little isolated from my army there. So I'm going to push up with my noble bloods, make sure that his auxiliary cav cannot come in and get easy kills on my Pontic peltists. And over here on my left, my skirmisher cav are still coming around, harassing these auxiliary cav. We're trying to pull these cav out of the fight and do it on unfavorable engagement. There you can see we're managing to get them to run towards us, which is good. But he quickly turns back. He's just using them to ward off my cav right now, so that's good. And he did a good job of halting my advance here with his cav, actually, even though he didn't get any kills. This is giving his archers more time to get kills on my Pontic peltists. So that's good for him. These Pontic peltists are pretty much neutered at this point. They're down to half strength. They won't be doing too much damage even if they get close. However, I still do have two Pontic peltists with pretty good health. Now they're in range. We're going to start getting javelin throws off. Precision shots popped. But you can see here, Imperator is going to screen back with his army and charge forward with his cav. Very smart decision. I'm going to save most of my skirmishers here, but he is going to get a hold of the last of these this chewed up unit here. That's okay. He pulls in and out right away, and he actually does take probably quite a decent amount of hit point damage from his own archers there on that volley. You guys all saw that. So over here, I'm still maneuvering with my cav. I'm looking for favorable engagements with my cav. This I was trying to push towards the rear of his army, but his auxiliary cav do catch my noble bloods here. This is a winning engagement right now for my noble bloods, but you can see he's reinforcing with vigiles, another set of auxiliary cav. Normally I would take a charge into these vigiles, but my noble bloods need to stop these auxiliary cav in their tracks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull forward these Pontic peltists, or these swordsmen. You can see he's splitting off two legionary cohort to deal with this fight. Not good. Over here, he has still a lot of skirmishers and vigiles in the area, which I have to be cautious of. And his archers are still in the game right now, so that's not good. Right here, these auxiliary cav are losing quite decisively right now. And we're going to have to charge in another set of our noble bloods to try and deal with these auxiliary cav. Now the problem here is I got a little too anxious. I should not have engaged my cavalry this far behind his lines without more assurance that I was going to be able to effectively mop up his cavalry a lot quicker. Now you can see I do manage to screen his archers in front of his army now and get into them, but Imperator is going to do a good job of targeting these Noble-bloods, and he's sending forward more legionaries to tie them down. His auxiliary Syrians aren't going to have a problem shooting these guys down. You can see they're already down to 25 men. His general's chasing me. I'm going to try and screen him back into my pikes. And you can see it looks like the Roman general is... Where is he? Somewhere in this blob. But you can see our pikes getting pretty good kills here. But in the backfield you can see we have lost our cavalry. We have one set of noble bloods left, and we have two sets of mercenary Syrian archers that are horse archers that are still left in the late game. So right now it's not looking too good for us. We kind of squandered our cavalry. We did a lot of damage to his auxiliary cav, but our opponent still does have a small mobility force with a lot of archers left. And he's gonna maximize his mobility right now and mop up the rest of my skirmishers. Here I'm going to try and save the last of my skirmishers, and while at the same time screening for my Pontic swords here. My bronze shields get into a really bad engagement with his legionnaires here. We get Sarissas down, but they're already among my ranks, and they're doing a lot of damage right now. So right here, I do manage to rout one of his cav units with my own pretty depleted unit, and he's going to actually run me off with the last of his cavalry here. I try to turn back and accept the engagement, and I'm going to try and support with these bronze shield pikes, but unfortunately my noble bloods are just too weak. They're not going to be able to hold out in the fight long enough. I do believe my pikes don't do anything against those cav. He's going to be able to just easily pull away. This is at the time that I notice I have these Syrians still sitting back here, these horse archers, or Scythian horse archers, excuse me. And there you can see we totally annihilate his general unit. He's going to try and run our cav off, but we have our cavalry on heavy shot right now. Let's kind of watch this. You can see his unit's going down very quickly to heavy shot. So yeah, we are going to totally take out his mobility now at this point, and now the mobility edge will return back into our favor. However, we're at a massive infantry disadvantage right now. And if Imperator plays his cards right, he will be able to whittle down my pikes very effectively with his pilum from his legionaries. So let's see what happens. You can see I'm spreading my men into thinner rank, trying to cover as much ground as possible. And there you can see the first volley. He's going to call his men off. Very smart move. And he's going to rinse and repeat. There's another javelin throw. So pretty brutal. And he's going to just keep advancing and retreating and advancing and retreating until all of his javelins are wasted. So this is good use of your javelins here. It's not like back in Rome 1 where you could just set your legionnaires to fire at will. That was pretty crazy back in the day. You could have your legionnaires just stand there and unload all of their pilum. But now, every time you click an attack order on a different unit, your men will throw their pila. There you can see he throws at my Syrian horse archers. That's actually good for me. That's a pretty heavy waste of his pilum right there. So I'm going to continue to try and harass his legionary cohorts on this flank. Try and continue to encourage them to waste their pilum on my cav. But you can see he's not really having much of that. Again, there's another pila throw. And he's dropping a lot of my men on these pila. At this stage of the battle, there's nothing really much I can do. I basically have to hold out. Hope I have enough men to hold out against him when he's out of pila. I still am firing heavy shot into these legionnaires, and it's going to be doing a considerable amount of damage to them, but I simply just don't have enough horse archers left to be doing enough damage to them to make this change the tide of the battle at this point, or to force my opponent into an engagement that he doesn't want. So you can see here more of my bronze shields all just pricked with Pelum. There goes another Pila throw. It's just brutal on my men. I'll bring the flags back up for a second so we can see what the numbers are looking like on my men. Here we're down to 30 out of 56. So yeah, about half strength on our flanks after the Pila. So here I was going to try and give him a taste of his own medicine, and there I do throw my Pilum, but I accidentally forget to pull back my Pontic swords, and this is not going to be good. However, you do see I do manage to pull away somehow with my Pontic swords. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kite him back, get him behind my lines of my bronze shield pikes, see if I can get an easy counter charge on my pikes. He's not going to have that though. It's at this moment that I realize these bronze shields are out of formation. He does a great job, by the way, of coming around the flank here and crashing down on these pikes. Right here I actually get into a pretty favorable engagement. Once we get pikes down, my bronze shield should do very, very well in this kind of engagement. We got a pretty big blob here, and we actually managed to get a rout. So here my bronze shields break, and they're going to try and flank my general. I'm going to answer back with my Pontic peltists. They get a really good charge in. Over here I'm trying to kill his archers with my cavalry. But due to their numbers, they're actually going to do pretty well against my Syrian horse archers, and actually I didn't notice he had gladiator spearmen in there as well. So what I'm trying to do right now is use my Syrian horse archers as much as I can on his infantry, again using their heavy shot, and at the same time protecting my army. You can see I'm trying to kite away from his army to seek favorable engagements with and try and pin his flank with my bronze shield pikes. But like I said in the beginning of this match, this is where we're going to see the mobility of the pikes exploited against them. I pull away, but he's able to simply pull back and kite away and pull my men out of formation. And here now, this is exactly what he wanted. My general gets way out of formation on an attack order, and now he has 3 legionary cohorts cutting through their backs. I did manage to get countercharged with another set of pikemen, and I'm managing to protect the rear with this set of pikes. But there my general goes down, and that's going to be a huge morale blow to my men at this stage of the battle. I'm sending in my Pontic peltists to try and run hammer and anvil strikes, and there you can see my Syrian archers still getting heavy shot in there. But unfortunately, this wing is going to collapse. We're trying to run hammer and anvil strikes with our Syrian archers here, and we do get a pretty good hammer and anvil strike here, but our bronze shields are just weakened. And they're getting out of formation. We're having a hard time killing our more of these units. And these legionary cohort, now that they're turned around into the face of my mercenary Syrian horse archers, aren't going to be able to hold. And that's going to wrap it up for our third 1v1 against Imperator Romanorum. So that was a great battle, pretty close, pretty decisive, especially at the end. Let's take a look at unit stats. I actually did manage to pull out pretty decent numbers out of my Syrian horse archers here. Remember, we were playing on small unit sizes, so these numbers are actually pretty decent. This is a whole unit. This is another whole unit's worth of killing, so that's pretty good out of these Syrian horse archers. My noble blood cav, honestly, not getting the greatest numbers. They did okay, but like I said in the video, I shouldn't have engaged them so rashly. I should have continued to prod at Imperator Romanorum's army until I managed to isolate some of his cavalry and get them into more favorable engagements. Looking at his own auxiliary cav, you can see they did actually do quite well against my noble bloods, getting many more numbers than they should have against noble bloods. And I'm going to chalk that up to his ability to reinforce the fights with his vigiles and his legionary cohort. You can see his vigiles not doing too much. That's probably because they're such a cheap spear unit. But yeah, his legionary cohort's really doing most of the work in this battle. Here, these Pontic Peltasts basically get wasted. I get about 50 kills on them, so not totally, but compared to the numbers that I pull out of my Pontic Swordsman, I really think that bringing more Pontic Swords would have probably been the better decision, and then further exploiting my mobility edge to maneuver my cavalry into positions to remove his archers would have been better. So, great game to my opponent. Hope you guys all learned something tactical. I sure did. This has been Epic Big Bird. Please stay tuned for more content, guys. Signing off.